Welcome back to the Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Owen, and today we're going to be going over some of the quarterback talking points for the upcoming 2024 NFL Draft, talking about how these quarterbacks look so far in college season, where I've graded them, and just have a genuine conversation about draft-eligible quarterbacks in this episode. So before we get anything started with my rankings or talking about who I have above who and what I've seen so far, I want to get some of the quarterbacks I got out of quarterbacks I haven't done yet out of the way. So I am trying out something different this year for my scouting practice. I'm going to pick a position, scout like 20 or so players from that position, move on to the next one, throw in a different position every so often so it doesn't, break the monotony of it. But right now I'm focusing quarterbacks just because those are the most easy to make content about. They're the most talked about topic, process, all that stuff. People like listening to anything that has to do with quarterbacks, including scouting content about them. So I'm watching quarterbacks right now just to be able to, put more content out while I'm you're not going to watch a lot of content about me scouting offensive tackles. So I am currently grinding those. I have some quarterbacks that I haven't gotten to yet, but I intend to get to within short order, whether it's going to be in the next few days or in the next week or so. Jaden Daniels, Joe Milton, Jordan Travis, Sam Harbin, DJ Uiagalelei. Those are the guys that I haven't gotten to that I'm going to do for sure within the next coming days. I'm probably going to, after I get done recording and uploading this, go watch some Jaden Daniels or Joe Milton. I'm not certain which one I want to watch yet, but it's going to be probably one of those two. And then I have some quarterbacks I haven't watched yet, specifically because with the quarterbacks I already have watched, they're underclassmen. I know that they're going to commit, like it's already been talked about. I know there's some rumors about Caleb Williams, how if it's the Cardinals or the Bears, he's not going to commit because he doesn't want to go to either of those teams kind of thing. But you'd expect the guys who are underclassmen at the top of the order to have come out and commit. So I've watched a bunch of seniors and a couple underclassmen that are confirmably going to come out even though they haven't fully committed yet. So the quarterbacks I have not scouted because I'm waiting on their commitment. J.J. McCarthy of Michigan. There's a lot of talk about how he is going to commit, and he was the one I was debating watching, even though he may come back. However, I do think that there is still some uncertainty because if he has a chance to be the number one quarterback in next year's draft class, he might as well go back to Michigan. They are having a great season this year. Maybe if they get close to winning a natty, he'll want to go back and actually submit himself or commit himself to winning a natty for Michigan. So we'll see how that goes. Shedeur Sanders, I don't know if it's a minority or not. I am absolutely certain he's not coming out this year. Whether it was him and his father saying that he doesn't want to be number 2 to Caleb, or the fact that he has so much hype around him, and if he just waits one more year, Colorado's going to become even better, especially with how they're making a name for themselves this year, and he'll be able to come out and he'll most likely will be the number one quarterback for next year. He'll definitely be the guy with the most talking points coming into it, so I don't see why he doesn't just fully come out right now and say, hey, I'm waiting till next year to come out. Stop putting me in your mock drafts and your big boards right now. But I still see him everywhere, so I have to put him on this list, but he'll probably be the last. I'm going to wait till commitment day when he decides yes or no, black and white, to actually watch Shedeur. Riley Leonard, Duke quarterback. He's only a junior, and he just busted up his ankle this year, so I think he's going to come back again just so he can show it off. But he did have a lot of hype going into when he got hurt because after beating Clemson and things like that, so you might want to capitalize on that. However, I do think he'd be best served going back to school for another year. And Kyle McCord has had a rough start to the season for Ohio State, kind of picking it up as of late, but I do think he's going to return. I just saw him on another person's listing, so I thought, oh, he is draft eligible, but I have 99% sure he's not going to come out, so going to put him on the list just as an honorable mention, but just to cover all my bases. And let's just dive. I'm just going to list off my rankings. I have 9 quarterbacks scouted right now, with the other, I think that's 5 guys here between the guys I mentioned earlier that I'm going to scout short term. I'm going to have 14 quarterbacks done halfway through the process. And if guys like McCarthy or Riley Leonard do come out, it'll be up to 16, 17. That's about as many as you want. Only 10, 11 quarterbacks get drafted every year. So having enough guys to cover those bases and then some with some UDFAs are always good to have on the docket there. So my rankings as of right now for guys I have scouted who are currently on my big board. Now, we start with 2 underclassmen, so these guys could go back. The rest of them most likely are going to come out, unless they have some kind of freak injury, redshirt, transfer, or whatever. Caleb Williams at 1, no shocker there. Highest grade I've ever given to any prospect ever. So I think he's easily going to come out regardless of who's going to be picking at the top there. Drake May at 2, Michael Penix Jr. at 3, and then that's where my first round grades end. Michael Penix is right on the borderline of a first round grade, second round grade. So as a Washington fan, that kind of hurts me but like watching his tape from both last year and this year, especially the All-22, I just am not in love with what I was seeing, especially last year's stuff. This year has been better, and I'm looking forward to see if maybe I'll watch another one of his games to get into the college football playoffs, or like against a good defense, like Utah. Maybe even against USC, which isn't a good defense, but it'll be up to the challenge. You'll have to outduel Caleb Williams, see how he handles that pressure. But yeah, for right now, I have him as a borderline first-round pick. I think I'd be fine if you took him in the first round, but I don't know, top 10 is kind of rich for my blood with Michael Penix Jr. Number 4. Now, this is going to be where I kind of change from the common consensus, and I only just happened to change this last night. I was up late last night, and I have watched a record 8 different games for this player. I watched 2 from 2020, expecting them to come out in the 2021 draft, and then two more from 2021 games, still expecting them to come out in the 2021 draft. They didn't, so that's 4. I watched 3 from 2022 because I expected them to come out in the 2022 draft. They didn't, and I just watched another one from 2023, and it was because that was the only 2023 game I had all 22 tape of at the moment. So I'm probably going to watch a 9th, maybe even a 10th game for this guy. But somebody will have as a top of the second round grade, Spencer Rattler from South Carolina. Now, I have a journey with Spencer Rattler. We'll get back to that. I'm going to finish out my rankings, but we'll come back to him. He's going to be one of the ones we're going to be focusing a lot of this episode on. Quinn Ewers, I have as a 3rd round grade. I haven't watched any of his 2023 games yet. I've just watched all 22 of 2 or 3 of his 2022 games. I'm looking forward to watching the Alabama one from this year, so I gotta update that. Same thing with Cam Ward, who is also a 3rd round grade. I have yet to watch any of his 2023 games, so we'll see how that changes his grade for me, but I am a big Cam Ward guy. We have Bo Nix at a bottom of the 3rd round grade. That's going to be a bit different from other people, and I'll get into that again as one of my talking points. Cam Rising, we have as a 5th round grade here. I think maybe top of the 6th would be where I'd like him best, just with the injury and everything like that. And then Tanner Mordecai with the UDFA grade, the quarterback from Wisconsin, previously of SMU and Oklahoma. So if you're interested here, like my whole thoughts on Michael Penix and specifically Bo Nix, I just posted a video previewing the Washington versus Oregon college football game. So you want to go over there. I know it's a whole preview of the game, but a lot of it was spent on the quarterbacks themselves and how you can neutralize each quarterback to see which team could win. I personally like Penix more, obviously, with my draft grade. The disparaging? What the fuck? What's the word I'm thinking? The disparagement is the word I'm looking for, between the late first, way early second round, like top of the second round pick grade for Michael Penix I have, as opposed to Bo Nix, who I have as the lowest 3rd round grade I can give a quarterback or give a player before their 4th round grade. You can see my disparagement between the two players when it comes to how I view them as potential NFL quarterbacks. Now, as a college quarterback, I think Bo Nix is fine. He's a good enough athlete to be effective in the college game and put some fear in some college defenses. He is accurate. He leads the nation in, passing accuracy. However, a lot of that is because they just run screens and hitches and all these short kind of stuff that he can just dump off to and let his playmakers do the work. They really are winning games a lot on their strong defense and strong run game this year. So I go more into depth of that in the Oregon versus Washington video. You want to go check that out. But I want to talk about Spencer Rattler, because back in the hype for the 2021 draft, I remember this because I was a fan of a lot of draft podcasts back then that some don't even exist anymore, and they were all talking about preseason hype, Spencer Rattler. It was him over like Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis, Sam Howell, those guys. And I went and watched Spencer Rattler, and this was the first year I started doing like actual grades. Prior to that, I was like a 16-year-old kid who just like eyeballed them and then ranked them how I wanted to, which is not very scientific. 2021 draft was when I started actually putting grades on people and ranking them according to grade, being a lot more objective and taking notes when I'm watching film and things like that. So Rattler, I actually came out with like a 4th round grade on him when I first watched him. People were talking about him as a number 1 overall kind of player in a weak quarterback class, and I was like, I just don't see it. I felt like he was very much a wreck under pressure. Like, I could see the arm talent. I'm pretty sure he was a baseball player. He has the athleticism. He can use different arm angles. He was accurate, except when he went deep. I didn't like his deep accuracy, and like I said, when you got the faint of pressure, he starts drifting backwards, making the passes even longer, not staying in the pocket, bailing from clean pockets. He was just a mess. And 2021 tape, none of that changed. 2022 tape came around. He transferred to South Carolina. I watched his game against Georgia, watched two of his games, or against his game against Texas A&M, and I forget what the third game was that I watched him. Oh, I think it was against North Carolina last year. And, he had gotten better. I felt like he was becoming more accurate down the field. He still uses his legs and his arms. He matured a little more when it came to progressing through reads. I felt like he had upgraded himself to maybe like a late third-round pick, kind of in that Bo Nix range as I have him right now. And I had them like that until last night when I watched the All-22 of his 2023 game against Georgia. And holy crap. He was the same quarterback I saw before. Like all the positives I had seen previously, the arm strength, the arm angles, the short to intermediate accuracy, the mobility, was all still there. However, he had gotten so much better and again, this is against Georgia's defense, the number one team ranked in the country. And his stats weren't particularly good for this game, and I'll get into that in a second. He had gotten a lot better against progressing through his reads, finding his checkdowns, finding the open man and concepts against specific coverages, moving through the pocket, not just bailing and scrambling. He escaped the pocket and was able to keep plays extended and alive until he had to fully commit to running, until he got to the end of the game where he was being harassed so much. He was under pressure all the time in this game. There was never really a rep where he wasn't under pressure, or when he wasn't under pressure, his receivers were dropping. That was like 90% of the reps. So, and I also thought, and I was listening to the commentary when they played against Mississippi State, which he had a phenomenal game in. They were saying how one of his main offseason focuses was to be able to stand in and take those hits and stand in the face of pressure and deliver the ball, which was my biggest criticism. I thought that was going to be a deal breaker when he got into the NFL. He was not going to be able to stand in, hold up in the pressure, because in the NFL, everything's moving faster. Pockets are muddier. You need to be able to stand in, take a hit, or stand in and deliver a ball even though you're under pressure. And he could never do that at Oklahoma, even when he first went to South Carolina. Big issue. In Georgia, he was standing in, taking shots, and delivering accurate balls 20-plus yards down the field. Receivers were dropping them. He was placing them in perfect position to make these catches. Even when he was taking shots and they weren't dropping them, big completions. Now, his completion percentage in that game was ass. It was not good, but it was a lot of drops. And he was under pressure all game, and he still looked fantastic. So I'm excited to get more All-22 film of him from 2023. I kind of want to watch maybe one or two more games of him from this year. Like I said, I want to get up to maybe 10 games watched from him over his entire career. But I think Spencer Rattler is now living up to those hype and expectations. Maybe not a first-round guy, and maybe definitely not the first quarterback taken. He may have been if it was the 2021 draft again, and he had Malik Willis, Sam Howell, and Kenny Pickett to go against. He might be the first overall pick or first quarterback drafted with how he's looking now. But I think now he's going to be easily top 5 quarterback drafted, at least ranked in my opinion, just because he's finally fixing those deficiencies I saw when he was at Oklahoma when he was getting that hype. So Spencer Rattler, I am super high on now. I turned from a Spencer Rattler hater back in 2020 and 2021 to now one of his defenders in 2022 to now a total full-on supporter in 2023 here. So if you're looking for the next like Jalen Hurts type pick where a quarterback in a deep class gets selected in the second round, even the first round picks get all the hype, and he ends up being one of the best, if not the best quarterback in that draft class, look at Spencer Rattler. Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, haven't really gotten film on them. Let's talk about Bo Nix. Like I said, if you want to hear my more in-depth opinion on him when I talked about what I saw in his film and stuff like that, go watch that Washington-Oregon preview. But I'll give you the cliff notes here. I just really feel like he came to Oregon after being in Auburn when he was more of this gunslinger. He turned the ball over, but also making these huge plays to upset people, even when he was playing against Oregon in his first ever start against Justin Herbert. He was this gunslinger tossing the ball down the field, looked crazy, won SEC Freshman of the Year, but he was kind of a wild stallion. He had and everyone was like, "Oh, Bo picks. He's not really this refined quarterback. He's going out there playing backyard football, and it's working because it's in the college level, but it's never going to work at the NFL level." He then goes to Oregon, and they put him in a system that reins him in, and that's what everyone was talking about. Like, you need to rein Bo Nix in to make him a good quarterback. However, he's become uber conservative now. Now, he doesn't have the arm. I never really thought, even at Auburn, when he was throwing it deep, he had the arm to really stretch the field, especially at like the NFL level when everything's faster. However, he was making it work just by scrambling and broken plays, and again, the college level, having guys moss DBs and stuff like that. It worked out in his favor. So now in Oregon, he's not stretching the ball in the field because he really can't, and they don't want him to turn the ball over. So they're making him do crossers and little screen passes to the wide receivers, roll out, hitch route with a slot fade that maybe he could throw to the fade, which Most of the time, he'll just roll out and toss to the hitch anyway. Little dink and dunk, check down you to the death. And even then, when they do give him full progressions, he doesn't even progress through it all that well. Like, there was a play against Georgia last year where he progressed through it, and he had the check down. Nothing was open. He was looking everything. Nothing was open. He came to the check down, ignored it, went back to looking for nothing that was open. Then he threw to the check down, missed the point where the check down was open, would have got a big yardage, threw it to the check down where he got absolutely crushed by a linebacker, and it was incomplete anyway. Like, you needed to throw that check down sooner. You needed to identify, okay, nothing's open, nothing's going to be open against this coverage, I need to find my check down, and it would have been a big play. You saw it from the All-22 footage. So Bo Nix as a NFL quarterback, if he's not playing for the 49ers, where everything is scripted and he's allowed to throw crossers and maybe take the occasional deep shot, but isn't too deep because he has a kind of a noodle for an arm. I think that's the only place he'd really succeed. Maybe like the Rams with McVay, but even then Stafford has that strong arm and McVay's gotten used to that. So I don't see a world where Bo Nix is like a consistent NFL starter, and like he has mobility, but it's not mobility that's like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, even Patrick Mahomes and Caleb Williams that are going to be effective at the NFL level. I wouldn't say he's that much worse of an athlete than Caleb Williams, but Caleb Williams just looks naturally faster. He runs at more opportune times. Bo Nix, he runs well for a college football player, but I just think when it gets to the NFL and everyone's faster, all the linebackers are running 4.5s, he's not going to be able to be a designed runner or really carve defenses up with his legs and make them respect it. Like, he'll get a good scramble once or twice a game, but like, it's not going to be something that defenses come in fearing and having the game plan all week for. And now I just want to finish this episode off talking about Caleb Williams. I know that's kind of like a boring topic. Save it for last just in case anyone wants to finally click off this once I get to this point and heard all the other points I'm talking about. But yeah, Caleb Williams, I'm going to give him his flowers right here and talk about what he's going to do at the NFL level, in my personal opinion, and what kind of player he is. So that was your fair warning. Now here we go. Caleb Williams is, for my money, everything that the media is talking about too, and then some. Like I said, I've given him the single highest grade I've ever given to any prospect ever. Higher than what I gave to Will Anderson or Aiden Hutchinson, Kyle Hamilton, Kyle Pitts, everything like that. He is by far and away the best player I've ever watched in college football. And you can just see it with the arm mechanics, the feet mechanics. Even when he's running out of shotgun, they have stuff tied to route combinations and things like that. They don't really typically run him out of shotgun, but I have no worries about him converting to that and having to take some 3-5 step drops out of under center and tying it to some routes and combinations, things like that. Arm strength for days. He can fit any throw and throw it 60 plus yards down the field. And then as a runner, he's more like the comp has always been Patrick Mahomes for Caleb Williams. Like, he plays like him. He has those weird arm angles. There was a play against who was it this year? Nevada this year, where he was scrambling to his right and he just like flicks it over his left shoulder and completes like a 40-yard pass down the field. It's ridiculous. Like, any other quarterback is throwing that ball away 40 yards out of bounds. He flicks it and it's perfectly placed for his wide receiver to be the only one to get it. So even if the wide receiver can't come down with it, it's a throwaway regardless. It's like just ridiculous. And he had already avoided the sack like 2 or 3 times. He's an incredible escape artist. And that's why he gets the comps to Patrick Mahomes. However, he's a better athlete overall than Patrick Mahomes. I think he's a faster runner. He's able to break tackles easier. I think he's more elusive than Patrick Mahomes in the pocket itself, just because he's more stockily built. I do think Caleb Williams maybe isn't the best when it comes, or isn't better than Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes is doing it at the NFL level, what Caleb Williams is doing at the college level. But Caleb Williams has the potential to be even better than him because he has that extra athleticism edge to him. If he can just put all the mental and like passing game parts of it together to be even equivalent to Mahomes, even if he's like a tick less, I think the rushing ability will make up for that. Like, he is genuinely somebody who can be used in the read option game frequently, triple options, things like that, RPO, where it's run to the running back, throw it to the wide receiver, and if neither of those are open, then you take off. And he could be super successful in that. So I think he has the potential to be the best quarterback in the league, even when Patrick Mahomes is still breathing in the league. However, I don't know how good he'll be right away, simply because he's so good right now in the college level that he takes those dangerous plays and like makes plays that otherwise you'd say, why did you do that? That's not a smart play, but it's like he completed it. You can't really say it to him because he's just so much better than all the competition he's facing. He's able to take these gambles and know that he can, win them. But when he gets to the NFL, when everyone's faster, everyone's better. There's no way he can take these same gambles he's making in Pac-12 right now and convert that to success in the NFL. So I do think when he's not making those plays, he is a great decision maker where the ball doesn't put in harm's way, and hopefully he's smart enough to know that, okay, once I get out of college, I need to stop doing this. But it's kind of like when you practice how you want to play in a game, you have to play in college how you want to initially play in the NFL. There's no way he should know to just flip a switch and not throw these kind of balls and stuff. So he may be somebody who has some high turnover rates, at least in the first few weeks of his rookie campaign. But I do think once he gets it figured out, once he gets settled down and understands, like, okay, I got to be a bit more safer with the ball. I can't do all these crazy plays until I'm used to the speed and the coverages and disguises of the NFL, that he will be able to ascend to become a top 5 quarterback within like the first 2 or 3 years of his career. So that's my piece on Caleb Williams. I think he's head and shoulders the best quarterback in this class. Like, even though Drake May I also have as a top 10 grade, he is still like 6.5 points higher than Drake May, which is a lot. Like 6.5 points higher than Drake May, while Michael Penix Jr. is 6.5 points lower than Drake May. So the difference between Drake May and Michael Penix Jr. is the same difference between Drake May and Caleb Williams, which is why he's just insane. But yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about for the quarterbacks right now. Hopefully I'll come back to you guys with those 5 guys I said previously done before, updates on Quinn Ewers and Cam Ward, and as well as I'm going to hopefully have some more commitment knowledge on the underclassmen here. And if you guys want to hear me talk about some of the guys I didn't touch on today, like Drake May, Cam Rising, when I get to them, Quinn Ewers and Cam Ward with the updated film, then I will gladly do a second part to this podcast. But for right now, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one.